Okay, I figured out my key to success. Now I'm locked in. I learned how to open doors like a locksmith.
Welcome back. You're not locked in with DK and Atwood. I'm Atwood. Killer to my left, DK. Killer to the far left. I had an intro written on my phone, but I don't have my phone, so I'm going to wing it.
All right.
30 amateur fights, 7 professional fights. You've trained with people like Tyron Woodley, Michael Chiesa, Forrest Griffin. There was somebody else in there.
Khalil Roundtree.
Khalil Roundtree, who just had a huge knockout, by the way, a couple weeks ago. Muay Thai coach for Jeremiah Scott and owner of the Carolina Kickboxing Academy, Mr. Walker Vivian.
Yes.
So I thought it'd be cool to have you on the podcast. Well, because you're a very interesting person, and two, we've talked a lot, about you've had a shit ton of amateur fights and the pro fights you had, why you quit fighting and things like that. And, we were kind of, all three of us were talking a minute ago, and that's something that doesn't get enough attention, I guess, because, let's be honest, fans, they just don't give a shit about the fighter. They only care about the product.
That's watch the circus.
That's the truth, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I was crying for real. I think you thought I was crying for real.
Well, you're a very good actor.
I'm pretty good.
Let's jump in. First of all, before we get into all that, you and DK have known each other for quite some time. Tell me how.
Man, I think Charlie Vivas introduced us.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, probably 15 years ago.
Man, it's one of the first pro events, or the first pro event South Carolina ever had. I think as far as like pro MMA on it.
Who was it for?
Carolina Fight Promotions, CFP.
Was it the one in Wilmington?
No, it was one here in Myrtle Beach.
I fought on that.
I know. Yeah.
It was the first. Hey, fun fact. I was the first sanctioned MMA fight in South Carolina.
Sanctioned MMA fight.
History here.
Wow. So
I was
you were fighting number one.
I was number one. Yeah.
Man,
you were later on the card. You were like co-main.
I think I was co-main. Yeah. Because, dude, man, I was in Afghanistan and thought I was in shape. And I come back and take an MMA fight like a month after I get
Will Estes.
With Will Estes.
I got a good memory.
Who's just
how the fuck would I remember that?
Juiced to the gills, man.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
So you guys met on that card.
That's the first time we met. Because I watched your shit. And I was kind of like the whole time. I think we met before that. Because you train with Nick Rodriguez.
Yeah. So I think we just knew people. Maybe we did cross paths at Nick's.
I don't know. Never getting to know your heroes though. Just fucking around, but I did because remember I only had like 2 or 3 amateur fights, and I was like it's like the first pro guy I've like been in cahoots with other than my coaches, or something, what I mean? Outside of my coaches. So
I
would like fan watch, you know what I mean? Whoa.
And then I come out in the second round. First round I was doing really good, man. Second round I was exhausted.
I remember I was like, why the fuck is he losing? You know what I mean? You're like watching Superman. I was like, dude, what the fuck?
I was 5-1 at the time.
I remember.
Did you lose that fight?
I lost that fight.
Oh yeah.
I was 5-1
against fucking Will Estes.
I know, dude. I got come out the second round. He saw, man, my arms felt like they had cinder blocks on them. And that time I was like, this will never happen again. Like, I'll never be so unprepared, because I thought I was doing a lot of CrossFit, and I was doing a lot because there wasn't a whole lot of people to train with. So I was doing CrossFit and doing a lot of different things and training when I could, because I was overseas, you know what I'm saying? I was like, not like you have a lot of people just begging to come spar you in MMA, you know, that were active duty overseas. So I think it was not Afghanistan, it was Iraq I was in. And so I get home and I get this fight. This guy's 2-0. I'm like, fuck this guy. I'm 5-1. You know, like I'm about to murder this dude. Come out in the first round and I'm throwing submissions on him and he's not tapping. I'm like, and then come out in the second round. I can't pick my arms up off the ground or off my hips, you know. He comes out there, double legs me, boom, and just beats me to oblivion. And South Carolina had just had somebody die.
You were on a stretcher.
Yes.
I didn't want to ask, but I remember
I didn't
that,
either. But
because I remember being like,
that's when you met Gary.
Charlie and was like, oh no.
Yeah.
But you were fine, right?
I was fine. Yeah. They just made me. They made me get on the stretcher because when I got out,
tired.
I was exhausted.
I remember this now.
I was like,
yep, I remember. I remember this.
I'm next to the ring, and I think it's Roger Carroll and Nissen were fighting in the main event. They were the main event.
I remember that shit.
Yeah.
Nissen was my coach.
Yeah. And so
I remember him.
And he just murdered that Roger Carroll, man. Just kneed him into his side to death because he just wanted to turtle up.
Yep.
So he just kneed him to it. Anyways, man. Yeah, they sent me to a stretcher, sent me out on an ambulance and everything. Made me go get a CAT scan. Yeah, it sucked, man. And then we were they put us up in a Motel 8 out in Surfside. That's the Super 8. It's out in Surfside. You know where Market Commons is?
Okay, well, that's technically Myrtle Beach.
Dude, that's
because I was like Super 8 in Surfside. That's right beside where I live now.
Oh, that's Surfside.
Still there, man, to this day.
Yeah, I know. I've been there many times. But
it's amazing that place is still standing. So fast forward a little bit. You had 30 amateur fights. Why so many amateur fights?
Well, it's kind of funny. You know, I'm Jeremiah's coach, and we talk about him doing so many different disciplines. As an amateur, I was doing that. I had 15 amateur MMA fights, and then would mix in kickboxing and Muay Thai, and I had 6 or 7 tough mans even before I did MMA. And then I would bounce back and forth because you might remember I was more of a striker in MMA and would get wrestle fucked, and like it would piss me off, and I would go over to kickboxing and do decent. Kickboxing, I was 10-3, so you know I did okay. And then I was 9-6 in MMA, and this was before there was a huge kickboxing scene in the area. So I would literally do MMA so I could strike, and it worked most of the time. But there would be times like just to go off what we were just talking about. I lost that night too. So I got wrestle fucked, man. I fought a guy I'd already beat in a tough man competition. I was like, we go bang. Nah, it took me down for 3 rounds. I didn't go home in a stretcher though. I went home and partied.
Oh,
so basically your 30 fights were just a compilation of different disciplines.
Yeah, and I did well. I remember people used to give me shit about having so many and not going pro because there was at one point, there was like 2 or 3 fights.
It was a big rush back in the early days, man. Everybody just wanted to go pro, go pro. Like and it still is. A lot of times now kids are looking for they got to get 5 fights and they got to be at least 75 win percentage in the state of South Carolina.
Oh, to go pro?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so because when we were coming up pro, like it was just coming on scene, like being state of South Carolina was just becoming legal. Sorry.
Right.
It had been illegal. So, we were there, we were living in South Carolina when it was just starting to take flight, and so they would come up with all these different rules, and that was one of the rules. And so guys are like, they're just fighting to get to where they can get paid.
Right.
That's what, even though like your pay is like, you think it's going to be something nice, but
you had to pay money to fight.
Yeah, man. Like after all the medical tests you got to do. And back then it's like, they didn't really know, like you had to find out, like not a lot of the places around here did the trio, the combat trio, which is like Hep A, hepatitis C, and HIV. B, HIV, and HC.
Your name
Hep
is
C, antigen. There's like all kinds of different tests. And it's like,
there is a blood antigen for where you were fighting all the time up in Jersey.
Jersey, yes.
They do the blood antigen.
Yeah.
I failed that once too.
Man.
It's cutting weight. And it fucks up your
so
antigen.
yeah, so Nick, man, what was his name? The head commissioner up there, Nick Limbo. He got in touch with my coach Kurt and made me retest my blood because my blood was all messed up. But I wasn't. Nothing was wrong. It was just I have low. I'm anemic.
You are anemic.
Yeah, I'm anemic, man.
But you got Native American in you.
Yeah.
So you got a little bit of dark.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. It's history. You got to know about medical history. Dude.
Yeah.
I don't know shit. Like, I just wing it every day, bro.
Anyways, man, I don't know where we're going.
No, so you talked about, your different disciplines in amateur. So you go pro. What year is this?
2017.
2017.
Well, okay, no. So I go pro in MMA in 2017. In 2014 or 15, I went pro in Muay Thai.
And at this point, were you living here or Las Vegas?
Florida.
Oh, you were in Florida.
Yeah, I would I would drive back here to like hang out with friends, but I was in Florida. Yeah, in Jacksonville, Florida. I had already had 3 pro fights in Thailand in 2014. Well, I had one in 2010, but it never counted against like an amateur MMA record. And I had 2 more in 2014 when I was in Thailand. And then I made my American debut in 2015. Was that on that card with
16.
you? 16?
15, yes.
On that card with you
15.
in Charleston?
Yeah.
That was it?
No, it's right here.
You fought in Charleston.
I fought in Charleston, too.
That's the one I fought Hazard.
Yeah, that is the one you fight.
You fought.
Because you fought in this one, too.
Shane or whatever.
Yeah, Crenshaw.
Yes. Damn, I got good memory. These ain't my opponents, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember that Mike Hazard fight.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a tough loss.
Yeah, but he hits like a fucking brick, dude.
Yeah, didn't know. You know what I'm saying? It was one of them things. I was like,
I didn't know either, bro. I know. I was like, this big, tall, lanky guy. Don't get me wrong. Mike Hazard is an amazing really guy, and he's good.
We found out.
But
he went on a streak after that.
Yeah, you just look at him, and you're just like, oh, I got this. Mm-hmm. He's not a very assuming individual.
Or I saw Wes Evans beat his ass in Florence. But then I found out later, I mean, it was just like a one-hitter quitter. It can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
oh, well.
Yep. So, lost that fight.
Uh-huh.
Was like in the dumps, didn't know what I was going to do. At the time, I was with my oldest son's mom, who just like, so I fucking end up moving to Vegas shortly after that. Wasn't sure if I was even going to fight. And I stumbled in Syndicate because I like to train. And I was there for like a month. And I remember Mike Kelly and Derek Brown came up. This is a specific memory because they came to train. I'm not working at Syndicate at this point. I'm just a member. And they're like, hey, we want to hit pads. And I was holding pads. And I remember the owner was like watching. And like normally they would like tell you, don't be hitting pads don't be holding pads if you don't work here. But the owner, John Wood at the time, just was like watching or whatever. And I was kind of like, oh shit, he's gonna say something. Never said anything. They were trying out for Derek was trying out
for Ultimate Fighter. Yeah, I remember
went
that.
to be his pad holder. Saw the owner of Syndicate again there. He's like, oh damn, what's up? We didn't really know each other. I mean, it's a big gym, so it's like it's a revolving door. I can only imagine how many faces go through.
Yeah. There's a lot of pro
I
fighters.
Can't imagine because I worked there for 5 years.
I can't.
So then just one day he was like, hey man, you want to do the pro practice? Like how you look good hitting pads. It was like it was really cool. It worked out. You want to do the pro practice? So I did the kickboxing day, and he was like, dude, you got any like jiu-jitsu? I was like, I got my purple belt. And he was like, what the fuck? Like, why aren't you training in the MMA class? And I told him then, I was like, I don't really know if I want to fight, man. Like, I kind of told him like a little bit of backstory, and I was like, I'm not sure. You know what I mean? He was like, well, why don't you just come and let's see what's up? And then shortly after that, I got offered a job to run the kids program. And then like I'd been there for about a little under
kids program's always the any.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, let's see if he can handle these monsters.
Yeah. And I took it over. I was an assistant at first,
dude,
and then I took it over.
And then that kids program, he's putting out some little killers. I would, follow him on Instagram and stuff. And he would, man, he had a girl that was really good.
Saya. Yep.
Yeah.
She's came. Did you see her fight in Myrtle Beach? I got her fight in Myrtle Beach.
I think so. I did. Yeah.
Yeah. She's real good. She's older now. I had her when she was 12. But what I was saying is ran the kids program, was a part of the fight team, and then I got my first fight at Gladiator Challenge. You remember that shit?
Oh wow. Yeah, on an Indian reservation.
Yeah, it was crazy. I made weight, and then the dude didn't show up the day of weigh-ins or the day of the fight. So like that's my big MMA pro debut. Didn't even happen. That was like in the summer. Then fast forward, maybe 4 months later, I got another fight on Gladiator Challenge. Was smoking the guy, and then just got clipped. Which is something I wanted to bring up earlier, but I want to save it for this. Like we were talking about. So remember, I'd said like I didn't start really getting good at fighting until I stopped fighting, because before that, like and I'm sure Derek can attest because you're pretty athletic. Like you started before me, but it's still a time where it's a lot of like, it's like the secondhand picks from the prime sports. Yeah. And you would get a lot of that when you were fighting as an amateur and even early days of pro. I would out athlete people and kind of just do whatever I wanted, play it safe. Remember we were talking about this? I agree, yeah. Play it safe. Like I would just put on clinics and barely get hit in these amateur fights. Then I go pro, fighting out of syndicate out of Las Vegas. Guys are telling me like, yo, you move good. Like you could really like 5-5-0. You can go to the UFC. I'm being told these things. So it adds pressure, right? So then I go in there fighting, like taking crazy chances, like moving, dropping hands, slipping, like trying to brawl. Cause I'm like, I want knockouts. Like, let me get knockouts and let me get in the UFC. I'm 29. You know what I mean? Like I remember at 27, I was training with Wood and Forrest was watching and he was like, yo, like, who is this guy? And then Wood told him, he's like, what's your record? And he's like, he's not even a pro. And he was like, how old are you? He's 27. He goes, it's time to shit or get off the pot, dude. And I'm like, fuck. You know what I mean? And so anyway, so my first like final pro debut in MMA, I fought like way out of character and got clipped. And I'll never forget it because it was at the end of the round and I thought like the fight was over. Because I was matrixing this fool the whole time, and it worked till it didn't work. But dropped me, and I remember the bell going off, and I was like, shit, I just got finished. And they're like, no, get up, get up, get up. And I'm like, whoa, it's not over. I go to stand up, and I fucking stumble and fell into the stool, and they waved it off.
Oh.
And I remember, so Khalil was there. Khalil Roundtree was in my corner. Tom Lawler was in my corner, and Wood, and their biggest thing was just like, it happens. And early in like we talked about it, like a lot of pressure, like you don't want to agree with that. Like it happens, you know what I mean? Like know what I know now, like it does happen. And like, they don't put an asterisk beside the loss, like was winning till he lost. You know what I mean? It's only an L. Oh, God. But they just kind of, they made me feel good about it, but obviously I didn't feel good about it. Like, they were saying it made us so happy we were trying to get to the stool and, you know, you were upset it was over.
So they were just making you a shit sandwich. That's what we call that. Yeah.
Well, because I don't know. Yeah, they were making me
shit sandwich. You say something good, you say what you did shitty, and then you say something good again.
I do listen. So I do remember. I remember it was like this dramatic shit, like you would see out of a movie. Everybody's like, "Get up." Get up, and I did. I stood up and was like, ugh. You know what I mean?
You're like, no, don't fall. I can't help it. I'm falling, dude. Tough. Man, yeah. I've been knocked out a few times too, man. And afterwards, you're like, dude, I don't know what was going on, man. I was like, I wasn't out. And then you know, you get your coach like, you're kind of out, bro. Yeah. You were out. Because, like, I got knocked out in CFFC. I won my first fight, boom, by knockout. My next two fights, I get knocked out in CFFC. And I'm just like, the first guy I was supposed to beat, you know, he took the fight on a week's notice. And now I come in there. And, dude, in like a minute of the fight, I get knocked out, you know. And it's just like, things you're riding that high of. I had 2 losses in Bellator, come back CFC win, and now I'm gonna get another win, thinking that anyways, and then you're like, oh shit, and you go right down into the dumps, feeling like you're the worst person in the world. And then we were talking about this too, you know, especially when you get knocked out, it doesn't feel too fun. No.
So after that fight, I mean, where do you go from there? What happens next?
I took some time off. My dad, So we can talk about this too. I'll share this. I've never shared this openly on any platform ever.
Exclusive.
I've told
exclusive.
People. So my dad was in the hospital during my pro debut. And then like I was traveling a lot back home to see what was wrong. Long story short, like he had AIDS, and it's crazy because he was living like a double life. You know what I mean? Like, and I was always told for a long time, like, it's not my story to tell, but he died. I mean, he's dead. He can't tell the story. It affected me. You know what I mean? It was kind of crazy because I was almost 30, and I remember like through the whole thing, you know, my mom kept saying, well, because I remember like you always had like questions, right? Like,
yeah.
He'd get some drinks in him and say, that's cute and shit like that.
Gotcha.
Right? So I was like, well, Mom, has he been tested?
Oh, those kind of questions. Okay.
So, yeah. We'll get into it. So
Okay.
I said, Mom, well, has he been tested for everything? Yeah, my dad didn't get AIDS from drugs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he didn't fuck a lot of whores.
Oh.
Dude had a double life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Some fruit. In the
But he was in Jacksonville living alone.
Living alone.
Yeah.
But my brother was living there, and my brother, like, so I would have questions. So there was a time, I'll jump back to the AIDS thing. This will lead up to it. There was a time when he was telling me, because I was going through, I was engaged to my oldest son Brody's mom, and like we were, you know, this is right around everything I was talking about earlier, and I ended up moving to Vegas. But he was like, you know, take me and your mom for example, like, we've been together for 25 years or something. And I was like, Dad, like, you guys have been separated since I was 13. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like, well, ugh. And I was like, and aren't you gay? And he was just like, I'm not gay. And I was like, it's weird if you're not. And that was it. That was the only conversation we ever had. Ever had. And we just both kind of sat there. We're at a bar. Okay. And you know, so jump back into after my first pro MMA fight. My mom is telling me this stuff, and this is like a month after I got knocked out. And I said, well, you know, she's like, well, they don't know what's wrong with him. They've ruled out cancer, this, and this. And I said, well, has he been tested for everything? And she's like, well, I didn't know how to tell you, but he's got HIV. And I was like, all right, okay, cool. What do you mean? Like, was surprised by my reaction because, you know, he's gay. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I mean, you know, like,
kind of figured.
Be weird if he wasn't. And she's like, what? And then, but like, tells me the whole story. I guess, like, so when I was 4, he told her, and then they used to, this is what I mean by double life. Like, I always thought my dad lived in the house. And some nights he stayed there.
Oh, wow.
But he would come, he had an apartment across town at 4. Once he told her, she was like, I'm done with him. I'll never, you know, that's never going to be a thing again. Mm-hmm. So growing up, he would take me to school, me and my brother to school. He would live in an apartment across town. He'd get there super early in the morning, make his coffee, act like he had stayed the night and shit.
What the hell?
For years.
Holy shit.
Wow.
I'm talking about from 4, this is just what I know about. From 4, they didn't separate, meaning he just moved to another state when I was 13. So for 10 years, he played that charade of...
Holy shit, dude, that's like a sitcom.
Oh, it's wild. Wow. So that's when she tells me, like, this is what's going on. And I was like, okay, it all makes sense. She's like, you're not surprised? I was like, you know, I'm a little bit younger. You know what I mean? And she's like, that's funny because, like, on his side of the family, his brothers and sisters can't accept, but they think he must have stuck himself with a needle he found on a grocery cart or something. But
because that just happens.
Yeah. And you know? You get it from a grocery cart? And then she's like, but your cousins, they all aren't surprised either. And I'm like, they're like my age. Like, you know what I mean? We pick up on some cues better. But then, like, I kind of keep telling myself, like, it's all good. Like, as long as he doesn't have full-blown AIDS. Like, I talked to some of my medical friends, and as long as he doesn't have full-blown AIDS, he'll be fine. So it's like a month later. Well, Mom, you know, I kept checking in, but I remember this month later, well, he doesn't have full-blown AIDS, does he? Like, we're good, right? She goes, well...
I've been looking for a way to tell you.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Like,
and I was like, God. And so he died like maybe a month after.
Damn.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
So how does that How did that play a role in like your career, or did it play a role in your career? Were you, I don't know, like more active after, or did you take even more time?
I trained a lot, but as far as like fighting, I was like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
it's just
it was a whole bunch of like, what just happened? And you try not to make like a big deal about it, but dude, I was like spending fucking hours in my coach's office just like boo-hooing. You know what I mean? Because at the time I didn't know anything about therapy, and like, so it's like, what do you
don't have a father figure really to talk to anymore.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because so let me just back all this crazy story up. He was like my best friend. That's who I would call. You know what I mean? So it was like, and it sucked because like, you know, he never told. You know, my brother was like in a punk rock and rocker, and then I'm like an MMA fighter. At growing up, when he grew up, he probably thought like stigma, they won't accept me or some shit. So the whole thing was fucking shitty and sad, and I just couldn't talk to him about it. So I did a lot of stuff with my coach. We got real tight, you know, and it was a crazy story. I didn't really think about like how crazy it was, because you try not to put it in your head until you start talking to more people, and they're like, dude, that's heavy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is heavy.
Because you think, like, how many people do you know that have AIDS?
Yeah, like, I mean, this is not the 80s anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like,
you know?
Damn. So that happens, right? You said that you did take some time off, and you were just training, but you weren't fighting.
Yeah, from competition, I took time off because it was just a real confusing time in my life.
Right. What year was that?
2017 he died.
2017. And
same year I went pro. It was a few months after.
Right. So, and you said your last fight was in what year?
2018.
2018. So how many fights did you have in that time span? Because you said you had, what, like 7 pro fights?
Yeah, so I had already fought professional Muay Thai between 2014 and 2015.
Okay.
And then I had 3 professional MMA fights throughout. It was 1 and then a big long break, and then I had 2 back-to-back. I had 1 in August and 1 in November.
Oh, okay.
So as an amateur, I used to fight often, and that was part of the problem with when I went pro. I was very like going through all this life shit, and wasn't able to get as active as I wanted to. And then it was the same thing because it was like 2 different pro careers. One in kickboxing, it's like worked out, right? I did 2 back-to-back fights in Thailand in 2014, and then came home and fought 2015 or 16.
Yeah.
I have the years mixed up, but they were back-to-back years.
Right.
Yeah, I think we retired same year. I retired in January of 18.
Yeah.
So what led up to you retiring? I mean, me and DK have talked about, you know, his career and the questions, I guess, that I would imagine most fighters start asking themselves when they think it's time to maybe hang it up, right? So, like, what was your reasoning, your experiences that led up to the retirement?
Well, so there was like a short story behind it. Is we had already mentioned I started fighting different, taking more risk in fights. So again, my second pro fight, I took no damage. I rear naked choked the guy in like 40 seconds or something like that. And then fast forward. Meanwhile, I'm drinking. I didn't bring up that the stuff with my dad. Like, I am pounding alcohol. And the second fight, I actually drank beers all the way up until I walked out.
Really?
Yeah. I was cutting weight. I'll never forget, because I had these like weird lemonade beers, and like I was cutting weight and would go to my car.
Mike's Hard Lemonade?
No, they were different. There was something you could get on the West Coast. I forgot the name of them. They were delicious. And I would I cut weight and was a little under, so I drank 2 beers. Yeah. My roommates will remember this shit, because one of them was my coach at the time, Rich Grindle, and I know he was like, "It's fight week." And I was like, "It is," you know. Yes, it is, right? And then so that plays a toll on your brain. Yeah. Obviously, cutting the weight plays a toll. I used to cut a lot of weight.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah. At 55, anyways.
Yeah.
What weight did you fight at?
55. Yeah. Most of my fights as an amateur were at 70, but I think my last 5 or 6 amateur fights were 55.
What would you walk around at? Just guessing.
185, 190.
Wow.
For both weight classes.
Wow.
That was the thing, is because like you look at what the
not smart things, guys.
No,
not smart things.
No.
And it sounds cool. I used to do the same thing. I'd blow up to 188 pounds cutting, and then you got to fight in fucking 8 weeks at 55.
Yeah.
Damn. So you're pounding beers throughout fight camp.
Yep. And then you know, at this time I've been at Syndicate. I'm seeing a lot of different talent on the mats. I'm hanging with them. When Chiesa had even fought Pettis, he came and did a little camp with us because I could mimic Pettis. So I was like, but then fucking Conor McGregor fucked that fight up. But
yeah,
right.
So I'm getting like a lot of validation, right? That like maybe, because you never know, there's doubt. We're all humans. Like maybe I could do this. I got the one loss, but like I could hit a streak, right? There's management in there. There's everything. Every tool you would need is in Las Vegas at this gym I'm at, right? And I work there. I'm a part of the team. Guys are like, using me as their main training partners and shit, right? Well, so then August, I get that quick sub, turn around, and I take a fight here in Myrtle Beach. Did you fight on that cartoon? God, do we?
No,
I might as well just assume you did.
Oh, I didn't. I didn't. I think I was just coaching that.
Yeah.
That one.
So I fought Robert Hale. At the time, like on paper, we matched up well. And it was just it was a kickboxing fight in MMA gloves. And
because the night I fought, you were commentating.
That's right. I did some commentating.
Damn. Yeah. Did some commentating too, huh?
Yeah. But he knocked me out. Again, another one. I was winning until I lost. And you can watch tape. But
yeah, and let's talk about. I mean, Robert Hill was no slouch. That's a guy. He'll take fight after fight.
He
after
went
fight.
on
yeah, he's
streak after he did me like that, dude.
Yeah.
Won like 7 in a row. Fights in PFL. Fought the Russian Dagestani dude who couldn't take him down. That was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, he went on a real tear after that. Like him and that whole little, I think some guys at X3, they fight a lot.
Yeah,
they'll just fight nonstop.
Robert Harrell's cool. I like him a lot, actually. But
Anyways.
So that happened. So that's 2 knockouts, 3 knockouts in my professional.
Man.
All my losses were knockouts.
Yeah.
In my professional. I never got knocked out as an amateur, ever. And again, so my fighting style is changing, right? Trying to you got to be exciting. Then I took time off from that, and I met the guys from Triumphant Combat Sports. That at the time they were up and coming. They were the rival to Lion Fights, and they liked me a lot. I had signed on to jump in co-main event against one of their poster boys. I don't remember, but I couldn't pass the medical test that time. It was a short notice fight.
Where's it at?
In California.
Yeah.
So then I have to take time off. They kind of told me it was no big deal. And then I got sorry.
Well, heartburn, you okay? You all right there, pal?
6. I was just fighting it for a long time. Okay. So then this is where things, when I was thinking like, oh man, because again, we keep talking about like you got to up your level. I just start brawling, like technical brawling in sparring.
Trying to bang with some dudes.
Yeah, trying to push it. I'm fighting with this guy, Heath, 2 guys, AJ. God, I can't remember AJ's last name right now, but he was really good, a Bellator fighter, really good striking. And another guy, Heath, who I can't remember his last name right now either. It's been so long, but Heath had like...
What weight was AJ?
AJ was a 185er, and I'm fighting at 55 at the time.
Yeah.
And then Heath was a 185er. But these dudes, they were good rounds. You know what I mean? Both with a lot of professional fights.
Is Heath Herring? Is he?
No, it's not that Heath.
Is he?
He was all
light heavy. Oh, okay.
Heavy.
Yeah, I thought. All right.
And he was more of a wrestler.
Yeah, so it was happening in a week. I got signed to do a 4-man tournament, and out on the betting numbers, they picked me this. They were pumping this for me to be their Triumphant United 4-man tournament winner. It was supposed to set. It's fucking crazy. Did a whole thing on them, a embedded type deal. Anyway, I get knocked out. It was the week 3 before the final 2 weeks. I got knocked out. No. I got severely concussed by Heath. We were brawling, right? And I thought I had vertigo a few days after.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I thought that's what was going on. I'm getting massaged. I was like, dude, I must have vertigo. I'm talking to Mike Pyle. Mike Powell had, I don't know how many fights in the UFC, and he's listening to me. He goes, dude, you might be concussed. Because I did a soft workout with my strength and conditioning coach, super soft, puke everywhere. And they're like, this doesn't make sense. And he's just kind of looking at me. He's like, you might be concussed, man. I was like, well, shit. Like, I got to go get my damn neurological exam for this fight here pretty soon. They're like, you need to take it easy. So I did. I took like a week off. 2 weeks, right? I go with AJ. It's the last round. I decide I want to take my headgear off.
Get cut open?
No. Worse. Fucking. So I used to catch the teep kick and I'd pull it in for and like rip to the body. Me and AJ used to spar hard, but it was always like safe. I felt good. He was one of those guys like you'd spar hard and not leave hurt. You know what I mean? You beat the shit out of each other, but you always were like, I feel good. You know what I mean? It was one of the best sparring partners I ever had. And this day, I go to do that move and he spun and fucking elbowed me behind my ear and put me out. This is 2 weeks before I'm supposed to fight. 2 days before I'm supposed to get my neurological exam.
Man.
And I'm just like, and he's like, I meant to pull it. He didn't mean to do it by any means. It was just one of those things. We're cranking it up.
Yeah.
Happened to take my headgear off. Like, you know what I mean? So I kind of like, I go to get the neurological exam and like, I can't pass. They kept saying I had a drift or something. Cause you got to do the neurological portion. Then you do the MRI and then I couldn't get to the MRI. And I remember I was so depressed. I knew I had a concussion anyway from the week before that.
Yeah.
And they had told me like, just take time off from sparring and, you know, like no alcohol, like, you know, cut back on the partying type shit. Well, I took time off from sparring,
but not the
alcohol. Yeah. And it was like, of course, my coaches were like, hey, man, you're only going to get paid like $4,000. Like, it's probably better because you get a jab and get knocked out and then feel really embarrassed and like try to make me feel good. It's like, still doesn't make me feel good. You know, everybody, all the fight promotion stuff went out and like I'm the guy that pulled out of the tournament. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then maybe 4 or 5 months goes by. They have a show in Vegas. Put me on it. I'm gonna fight again. So remember, this is the same promotion 3 times. This will be the 3rd time I can't fight for him after putting my face on their shit. And same thing, still not ready. The doctors are like, still not ready. And I wasn't concussed or anything. I did everything I was supposed to. That was the part. Like, I didn't do any crazy shit. I just was drinking. But, like, I like super hydrated before I went, and it was the same thing. Still got a drift. You're going to be fine. You just need to take more time off. And I was like, fuck, man. So I can't fight next month? And they're like, nah, I just don't think it's smart. And they would tell you, because these are guys in Vegas, they're like, you don't want to be the 26-year-old that we're telling they can never fight again. Like, you have time. Just take time. So that happened. I put guys on the card, and then it was kind of like a decision I had to make. My coach at the time was like, you need to be coaching. If you're not going to fight, like, it's time. I want you to coach. Wood would always tell me, like, he wanted me to be a part of the coaching staff on the MMA side because I was running the Muay Thai program at the time. And it was just a weird decision, man, because I was like kind of in between a rock and a hard place. Like, do I stay here and continue to have a coaching salary and work till I'm 70 years old?
Yeah.
I'll get to travel the world. I'll get to coach guys in UFC. I'll get to do all this, but I'm going to be a slave. Or do I take a risk? I had a girlfriend, well, she's my wife now, but I had a girlfriend back home here because remember the stuff with my dad. I'm traveling back with the family a lot. And it was like, or do I just like take a chance on that and go back there, maybe start a gym? I had talked to you about if you wanted to team up or something. You told me fuck no.
Yeah, I said fuck you, Walker. No, me and Walker had talked about him taking over the Muay Thai program and everything. Is just at the time with us being kind of newer, just we couldn't afford to have Walker.
Yeah. So,
and I think I'm glad he's where he's at now too, because I think he is as well.
And we'll talk about that, you know, before we wrap it up, like the new things that are going on with you. But listening to your story, you know, obviously hindsight is 20/20, right? But I guess my question for you would be, you know, if you were having that a conversation similar to that with somebody who's just starting out, right? Like, you changing your fighter style or your fighting style to please somebody else obviously affected your career.
Yeah.
Now, would you say...
Well, it affected my life.
Well, right, okay.
His life.
Your life.
Okay. Get it right.
Yeah.
Well, no, because if you think about it.
Oh, yeah, it really has.
No, right. So
I'm being serious. Atwood.
You know, I would assume if you could go back and do it over, then you wouldn't have done that.
I would have gone to college.
So you wouldn't even have fought at all.
I'm being super honest. Now, let me say I am doing what I love.
Right.
But if we talk about brain health and so many things and sacrifices, mental health, a lot of things, if someone told me, would you do it again, I would choose a different option.
So you wouldn't even do it again, but do it differently.
Stuff, man. Maybe. But who knows? Can't do it, so who knows?
Right.
That's what I say now, you know?
So for me, personally, I would do it harder than what I did.
What? So, elaborate.
Just like, man, sparring was every day.
Mm-hmm.
You sparred every day. Mm-hmm. So it's like what he's talking about. It's like your best wars were in the gym usually, and that fueled me to be a Rudy. When I get into the ring, it's like I'm not stopping until this happens. And now when I'm on the mats now, I just know, like, all right, if I push the gas pedal down a little bit harder, I can break this person because of all these years in the past of those hard training sessions. I've been through way worse. However, my body, it doesn't feel great. But if I could go back and do things differently, I would probably recover a little bit better. I would have started doing yoga a whole lot more. I would do an ice bath a whole lot more and stretch a little bit more. I wouldn't spar as much.
Not cut as much weight.
I
think that was a huge downfall for me. I was cutting massive amounts of weight.
And that's what they say is like you lose that fluid onto your brain and that causes you, because I went 9-3 at 170. When I was at all my 170, 9-3 as a professional fighter. You go 9-3, you're in the UFC at 9-3. Yeah. When I went 1-4 at 55. Yeah,
I probably
1-5, something like that.
I'm sure it's similar if I were to do the math.
So we kind of talked about that, or similar to something like the fighter and the fan perspective, right? Because as a fan, we were all talking about this earlier. Like, they don't necessarily value the fighter's health. The only value they get from a fighter, from the casual fan anyways, is the entertainment aspect you can bring to their Saturday night, right? So, like, from a fighter's perspective, I mean, I would imagine, and you see it every now and then in fighters, you know, in the UFC and these big organizations, like, the way they fight, it's like, fuck you to the fan. It's I'm playing it safe, not only for myself, for my career, for my bank account, you know, for the longevity, which, I mean, I don't blame it at all, right? I mean, it is MMA. Like, if you got a problem as a fighter with being taken down and held down, then, I mean,
you got something to work on.
Right. You should probably work on that takedown defense. You know, obviously it can be boring, you know, but, you know, if I'm a fighter, I don't give a fuck what the fans think. But nowadays, you kind of have to if you're trying to get into these big organizations where the paydays are. You know, so from a fighter's perspective, like, what do you guys have to say about that? Like, you know, obviously you said it changed your life. Yeah. Having to fight to please other people versus fighting to win. Right. You know? Yeah. Right. So, I mean, it's kind of like it's just a fucked up scenario. It's a catch-22 a lot of times for the fighters because you can't please everybody. No. You know, there's very few fighters who have done that.
And there's going to be, like, for me, I didn't go to a decision until my 19th pro fight. I didn't go to any decision to my 19th pro fight. So with me, starting off early in my career, I was trying to, you know, go to Ultimate Fighter, and I was not 6-2 and with all finishes and, you know, never being into a decision. But it's like that wasn't enough. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And the more I started to try hard to please people and go in there and start banging, I started getting knocked out, man. And it's just, but that's that dog-eat-dog world. Just like you're going to go in there and wanting to do some dog shit. Like some days you're going to come out not being the top dog, you know? And you're
One thing I've learned from being around, you know, you guys and, you know, people like Jeremiah, is every fighter at some point has to pay the toll. And those tolls come in different forms, right? You pay with your health. You pay with, time away from family, time spent into the gym. Everybody has to pay the toll. And that's one thing, like, you guys aren't normal people. You're not.
It's definitely a different type of mentality.
Yeah.
And you can tell when it's like, this motherfucker is like, he's not one of us.
You can tell. You can't bullshit a bullshitter. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, what's the term?
People that are in the game. For
real eyes recognize
real eyes recognize real eyes.
Yeah, that's real though.
Yeah,
you get a guy in the gym, like you asked me, like, would I redo it, and I kind of answered weird, because that's something I would tell somebody else. The way I answered, right? Like a young kid comes in and goes, "I want to make it to the UFC someday." I would say, well, you should go to college, because the chances,
starting to sound like a teacher.
Well, because the chances of you making the UFC are so slim, and then the chances of you making a living in the UFC are even slimmer. The chances of you becoming filthy rich are even slimmer. My buddy Julian Marquez was a big name in the UFC, worked at Topgolf his whole time he was in the UFC. He made more money working at Topgolf. And that's the thing that people don't talk to you about. There is, if you are not top 10 or top 15, you ain't making no money. You ain't making, fuck you money unless you're a longtime champion. Like Conor McGregor's an anomaly. There'll be another another one of those. Guys making 20, 30 mil a fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what these guys see, and everyone thinks they're the exception. Most of us are the rule. You know what I mean? So that would be what I said earlier. Is like, obviously, I agree with DK more. Like, I would change it up. I'd do it again, but I'd change it. But what I would tell somebody else, they say the same thing.
It's like, you don't want to do this, man.
Most people, especially nowadays, like you said, like we're different. You know what I mean? Whether it's whatever upbringing, whatever happened, whatever, right? Maybe it's just, you were born this way. I know, like me, I always wanted to be a ninja.
Me too, bro. Me too.
You know what I'm saying?
I used to dress up as a ninja.
That's why sometimes when people ask me how long I've been training, my whole life, I watched martial arts movies. I was fucking kicking pillows and shit.
Yeah, me too, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I finished my senior year of football, my buddy Clay, we bought gis. I watched UFC 1 and 2 on VHS. We bought gis, and I used to fuck him up in my mom's front yard. I'm still in high school. There's no training. This is in 2005. You know what I mean?
You put your gi uniforms on.
I still got that gi too, that black one. And he's the only nutbag that was crazy enough to let me do it. You know what I mean? But like I was saying, so yeah, I think a lot of people now, it's not, like you said, it's not the same. You can tell, and because gyms, it's more mainstream now, so you get tons of different walks of life. Guy will come in, and like I said, they'll say, I want to do this.
Well, dude, how many people have you seen? Here's the better answer, right? So with all the people that come in wanting to be a fighter, how many of them last?
That's let's talk about it. So I have a saying, the only way you ever suck is if you quit.
Yeah.
Right? You will suck if you quit. If you don't quit, you ain't never going to suck. Eventually you're going to get good, right? Eventually you're going to go somewhere in the fighting organization in a big name, or like us, you never really quit and you end up being gym owners.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're the last, like, we didn't quit ever.
Yeah.
Ever. We didn't quit. I have a next time you come, I want to show it to you. I did karate when I was a lot younger, and I was testing for like green belt or whatever comes before brown belt. And I have it. It's on my new gym now. It's a letter from the sensei saying, not focused, not serious, plays too much, needs to try again, bring him back when he's more serious. And something like that.
Damn.
Yeah, it is. But I used to tell people the story, and then before moving into this new spot, my mom found it, and I was like, we got to frame that shit.
Yeah.
You know how many little bad motherfuckers come in, or the parents like, I think I'm going to take him out. Like, he's really not focused on that. Look at this, and look at me now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But,
you guys could have all of this one day, but not in my town. Move to another town if you're going to open another gym.
Move to Myrtle Beach. There's tons of them here. So, what's funny about it, saying we never quit, it's like almost it's accidental success in a weird way, because I never planned. Like, obviously, I started teaching almost within the first 6 months I started training, and it was always like, I could teach for a living.
Dude, I started teaching very early as well, man, because I was in Alaska, so there wasn't fucking much of anything. And we were in a little racquetball court, and I was athletic, right? So my coach would be like, hey, help out this new guy with them arm bars or whatever like that. And so it became where I started shifting more into this coach's role. And then when you go to people's fights and different things like that, you're like now wrapping hands. And I know, you know, Walker was one of the only other guys that actually can wrap hands, you know, that's in people's corners. It wasn't just like another fighter.
The only dude, you remember?
Yeah, man.
Used to be only one guy. I used to wrap my own hands because nobody knew how to wrap hands. Just validating what you're saying. Nobody knows.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
Yeah, I saw him doing it in Thailand, and I was always like, "Yo, that's so dope."
That's so, me too. Yeah, I have to learn how to wrap hands.
Remember Nick? I would watch him. I would. Plus, you trying to keep your mind off a fight. Every time they wrap my hands, I was just like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then I'm also thinking like, I'm gonna do this someday. You know?
Yeah, right. I remember back in 2007, I was fighting in Alaska, so there was like no really wraps. Motherfuckers were putting on their fucking hand wraps and then putting their regular gloves on over top of their hand wraps. Well, I just remember in high school they always used pre-wrap, right? So I started wrapping my hands with pre-wrap.
Oh, yes, the foamy shit.
Foamy shit. I'd wrap my hands with foam wrap and everything and then put tape over top of that. And that's what I used to do back in the day. And now then came to South Carolina and it was like, this is how you wrap hands. Because my boxing coach Jared, I used Jared Robinson.
Oh yeah,
back in the day.
So he can wrap hands good.
And he was wrapping hands then, and I don't know. It's just you just don't see very many good hand wrappers. It's usually older guys that are doing the hand wrapping.
So, before we end it, I have a question for both of you. I'm kind of putting you on the spot a little bit. I'll start with Walker since he's the guest.
Walker.
If you had to describe, like, you know, the years that you spent into, you know, martial arts, right? You know, the time, the energy, all that stuff, in like one word, like how would you describe it?
Learning.
I feel like you just copped out there.
You said one word.
I know, but I mean, come on, learning. Give me something else.
Oh, all right. Well, I can definitely like delegate what you mean. I mean, so you're learning martial arts, but you're learning a lot of stuff about yourself. Right?
Okay,
that's the big. That's why before you even finished, I knew I was gonna say learning. I didn't even like I didn't realize what I was even saying until you said something.
Okay, well, as long as there's a deeper thing.
Oh yeah, no, learning about
you know?
yourself, dude. Okay. So, because there was a lot of times I didn't have a coach. Started at a place here in town, the dojo. It closed shortly after I
heard
started.
about that place.
Yeah, and then I went under Tebow's wing. Tebow's still fighting. He's not really able to full blown coach.
You're talking about Tomar Washington, right?
Yes, yeah. Sorry, Tomar. Yeah, yeah. Everybody knows him.
Just for anybody watching. Then.
Yeah, Tomar Washington. So he's not able to like full blown coach. We're just training partners, and then there's so many like gyms failing and opening and closing and all this stuff. Like we end up coaching each other, and man, you learn a lot about yourself. So I always say this. I think, and I've said this to you before. I know I have. We've hung out a lot.
Yes, we have.
So I would think everybody should fight because you will learn so much about yourself. If my 76-year-old mother could get a fight, like 3 30-second rounds or something, you know what I'm saying? I'd get hurt. She probably never fought anybody in her life, but you would learn so much about yourself. And like we were just talking about the journey, I have learned so much. That's why I answered wrong about going to college. I did go to college. I got my doctorate in this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Love
So, whoa. So call me Dr. Vivian.
Yeah. Just call
Dr.
me
Viv.
Professor.
Yeah. I was trying to. But you learn a lot about yourself. Yeah. Obviously, you're learning skills. But they're invaluable skills.
Invaluable, man. Invaluable. Nobody can take them away from you. And it's you polish those skills the more you train too. The more you just continue through this and never quit. The more you're just going to polish them. I mean, and it is a learning. It's always learning. Always learning.
What about you?
The one word for me, oh man, is what's it called? Fortitude. You got to have just constant fortitude and effort to continue on. Just like he was saying, is like, because if you quit, you stop learning, You stop finding out about yourself, and that fortitude, and just that's going to drive you to keep pushing forward, you know, day after day, because there's going to be a whole lot of shitty days more than there are good days. And those right there are going to test you, and it's going to test and see who you are, what type of person you are, like he was saying. And man, martial arts weeds out the people that it weeds out, I guess, you know. It's like it is like a selection process, almost like
natural selection.
Well, think of like a washout rate in the military, right? They're Navy SEALs, for instance. It's hard. Every day is hard when you're in Navy SEALs. Every day. And eventually, at the end of that class, what might have been a 200-person class is now like a 13-person class. And it's almost the exact same thing in jiu-jitsu, in Muay Thai, in competitive kickboxing, and different things like that. It's just it slowly weeds people out, and the people that can endure that process are the ones that end up, you know, winning at the end. You know, it's not all about the competition winning. It's about just pushing through and continuing on training, because it's just going to make you a better person all the way around.
Right on.
So just a segue, I think that's where you see a lot of respect amongst not even so much coaches but other instructors, because, you know, they're the dudes that didn't quit. So like immediately it's a whole, like, you know, when you go in a room before competition, it's a lot of fighters, like it's a lot of sizing each other up. You never size up the coach. It's rare. Like you look at the coach and you're like, you know what I mean? You both got an understanding. And I think that comes from a deep thing of like, that dude never quit. You know what I mean? Like he's in the position, he's coaching guys because he's the last one standing. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's kind of the aura of fighters, like amongst fighters in general, right? Like, yeah, there's always a lot, not always, but a lot of times there's a lot of shit talk, but what do people do after the fight's over? You know, I think there's always some sort of mutual respect there for anybody who can get in there and do that, you know?
Bond with a guy when you fight him.
But
which is why there's such a brotherhood amongst training partners.
Right.
Especially like what he's talking about. We used to beat the crap out of each other. And it's like
wars.
It's like in school, you get in a fight with a kid and then you're friends with them.
It's like, hey, we did something. We shared something together. You know what I'm saying? You shared something hard together. And it's like the Navy SEAL brotherhood. Like you go through the shit with somebody and you know, be like, oh, you've been there. You know, you know what's up. You know, you're part of that family, you know?
Yeah. So, Walker, you just, you've been the owner of the Carolina Kickboxing Academy for a while, but you got some new shit going on. Tell them what's going on with you.
Yeah, man. So we got a new facility.
How many square feet?
5,000. Nice. I've been saying 4,500, and I just got the plans the other day, and it's actually 5,200. But 45, I think, is usable training mats.
Yeah.
So it's about 5 times as big as what we did have. It's still in Florence. It's like 6 minutes away from the other gym. With the space, we've been able to expand the schedule. We've added more classes, and we've added more disciplines. We're offering wrestling for little kids now, and MMA classes for adults. That I didn't want to say wrestling for adults because people think we're in there with singlets and stuff. And it's all, you know.
We still get that. We get that. You guys do wrestling? You guys do pro wrestling?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So it's MMA, but, you know, MMA has got such a strong, wrestling has got such a strong foothold in MMA foundation. Yeah. So we do a lot of wall work and things like that. And I've been able to split my classes from like basic striking to advanced striking.
Nice.
So 6 a.m. classes, 11 a.m., 3 showers, ice bath.
No big deal.
Not like I'm not copying a certain gym I'm at right now. Or
we don't have an ice bath.
You had one.
We did, yeah. We did. We had just a freezer.
I don't really have an ice bath either.
Oh, okay. I got one in my house now.
Me too.
Yeah.
Mine's a portable one.
Must be nice.
So it can be anywhere.
Yeah.
I said that because I saw something you posted the other day. It's like people say, "Oh, it must be nice."
It must be nice.
Was it you like sitting in your?
No, it's just like you know, people will say that like he didn't work hard to get the
As
shit.
Like,
oh, it must be
$100,000
nice.
ice bath.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to get him.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't that much.
No,
Jesus Christ.
I know how much it was.
So where can they follow along and check out the Carolina Kickboxing Academy and what you got going on?
We have the website, carolinakickboxing.com. Instagram is now a new page. It's Carolina Kickboxing at Instagram. And Facebook is Carolina Kickboxing Academy.
Now, do you have your own personal Instagram or no?
No.
Okay, so
I don't have Facebook or Instagram.
So it's all just through the gym.
Which is scary, too. Make sure other people are doing my shit.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't run those either, man.
Oh, yeah.
It helps.
Who runs that?
Little Ethan runs the Instagram, my little teenage stud, and then Sonia, she's kind of like a manager position, runs the Facebook.
All right.
And then the website runs itself.
Gotcha.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, shit, man, dude. I think we had a great episode, man. I learned a lot about Walker that I didn't know. I mean, because I've gotten to know you a little bit the past couple of months, but I mean that's really it. Just being around you whenever it's fight week.
Yeah. I like you a lot now after the second one. The first time I thought you were a goober.
Thought I was a what?
Yeah, goober. Goober.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
just
First
thought-
impressions.
He didn't know you.
I'm real guarded.
Well, we're gonna have to
By
talk
the way,
about that a little later.
Why you guys got your shoes on?
What, you got shoes on too?
No, I meant, but like I don't got fanboys for my feet, so I'm just.
Oh shit!
Dude, we're going to have some pissed off people.
Whatever.
My shoes are on, so I don't stink this place
these
up.
are barefoot
Why are
shoes.
y'all shoes on?
These are barefoot shoes.
Well, we don't want to talk about your feet, Walker.
I'll talk about it.
And how they
Something's going on.
stink.
Something's going on with me,
Dude.
I'm in a phase of my
Between
life.
Walker's feet and Jeremiah's farts, jeez,
It was
bro.
sour
It
Skittles.
was
in that fucking-
horrible.
It was stinky.
I can smell it.
I'm
It
going
was-
through a
dude,
phase right
it was
now. You know
horrible.
what I mean? Like there's some hormonal shit going on. My feet have never smelled like this before. You know what I mean? It's like when you're a teenager with puberty and you're stinking real bad.
Yeah.
I'm not going through puberty. Trust
You
me,
might
my
be going
test
through
levels are through the
athlete's
roof.
foot,
I've hit puberty 4 times already. But my feet are, whoo, buddy.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's where we're gonna end it. So.
Hey, guys, thank you so much for, hanging around with us and watching us. Please like, comment, subscribe if you get an opportunity to. Please share this with your friends. Tell them to like, comment, or subscribe. Please, more subscribe. We need more of those. So we hit how many more?
I think
We're still not getting paid from this. All right?
No,
We're
no,
doing
no.
all this.
we're at like
$4.99.
430 something, 440 something right now.
We need
1,000.
we need like 1,800 watch hours.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, we're gonna be consistent. We just need y'all to be consistent.
Yeah.
I
subscribe.
check out the
Yeah.
Appreciate that, Walker. I check out the analytics every now and then. It's not something I harp over, but
We're getting there.
we got a lot more people that are watching that aren't subscribed. So I mean, if this is the type of shit that you're into combat sports, then sub
Please
up.
subscribe.
I mean, we have past interviews. Kenny Florian, obviously, people that we've done embeddeds on,
and we'll be barefoot in most of them.
And yeah, till next time.
All right.
That's how we're
Out.
ending it.